Hi, this is Keshava Murthy from IBM Informix Development. Let's continue the discussion on new SQL features in IDS version 11 release. We were talking on the utility features in IDS version 11 in the part 7, so let's continue where we left off. So in IDS version 11 we have a new onConfig variable temp tab _ no log. By default IDS temp tables are logged. All the changes to the temp tables are logged so that the changes to the temp tables can be rolled back if you are using the temp tables in the context of your transaction. In many cases, like if you have a HTR setup for high availability, or if you have HTR and RSS nodes set up for your high availability, it's an overhead to transport the logging from the primary servers to the secondary servers, only to be ignored because the temporary table changes are not applicable in any of the other servers. You can take care of this by using the with no log option when you create the temporary tables. In many cases, when you don't have a chance to recompile the application, or you do not want to recompile the application and go through extra level of testing, you can simply set this onConfig variable either statically in onConfig or dynamically via onMode command and disable logging for these temporary tables. One thing to note is, by disabling the temporary table logging, you will not be able to roll back any changes that are done into the temporary tables. And the other thing that you will not have is the ability to go back to the last committed read version. But since the temporary tables are used within the context of the same session, so you'll always be getting the latest and the greatest value that's in the temporary table. So that's last committed read is a non-issue for most part. So using this, you will be saving some space and some processing resources by not having to handle the logging on the temporary tables. Let's move into the next feature: sysdb open and sysdb close. For those of you who have used XPS database server from Informix, this is pretty familiar. What these procedures, these are two predefined, or you can say reserved procedure names with IDS version 11. When you create a sysdb open procedure with owner as public, this stored procedure will be executed anytime a user accesses or opens the database explicitly using either the database command or by connecting to the database from one of your APIs. In this sysdb open procedure, you can set the environment variables, do some auditing, set the roles for the user. You can do any of the SQL or environment setting operations to set the applications to execute. One of the main difference between this procedure and normal procedures is, in a normal procedure, the environment you set within the procedure is restricted only for the execution of that particular procedure, whereas for sysdb open, the environment you set, in this case PDQ priority, opcomp and isolation level, these values that you set within the procedure will be effective for the duration of the session or until you change it. So that's the main difference. Other thing to notice, you can create multiple sysdb open procedures in any of the database types. Typically in IDS logged or non-logged databases, the moment you create a procedure with a particular name, in this case SDB open, you cannot create another stored procedure with the same name irrespective of who the user or the owner of the procedure is. ANSI databases do that, but normal other logged or non-logged databases do not do that. The exception to that rule is SysDB open. In all the Informix database modes, you can create SysDB open procedures with any of the names within the user list or as public. If a procedure exists with a particular user as an owner name, when that user accesses that database, IDS will execute that particular SysDB open. For example, in this case we have a public.sysdb open, so if this is the only procedure that exists for SysDB open, this will be the procedure executed for all the users. If you have foo.sysdb open, when a user foo accesses a database, then the foo.sysdb open will be executed instead of the public.sysdb open. Similarly, when the user disconnects from the database or closes the database using the close database command, we execute the public.sysdb close or a user.sysdb close if one exists. Let's talk about the new data types and indices we have in